the state of Missouri is in crisis. Uncertain shadows lurk inside our government, silencing the will of the people. Across the heartland, whispers of election fraud ignite fear and betrayal among citizens who once trusted their democratic process. Missouri's election integrity hangs by a thread. Illegally certified voting machines cast doubt on every vote.
We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
30,000 ballots in one county alone are invalid, and voter rolls inflated with names of the deceased are eroding trust in the Secretary of State's office. And this has a grassroots group of citizens prepared to take a stand against the corruption. These vulnerabilities stem from a broken certification process, as former interim U.S. Attorney Ed Martin has revealed.
One of the places I think that is really problematic that nobody has looked at is the certification of systems, right? For the record, not saying there's any fraud, but how do you certify?
Of course there's fraud.
Well, I know, but the election...
Look at what's at stake.
Exactly. Well, no, but even better, look at how much money it is.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, okay, but even just the Election Assistance Commission is the entity that certifies machines. Okay? It has no real teeth, but it controls who's certified or not, which means it controls who has the good housekeeping stamp of approval worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
The Missouri Secretary of State's office, meant to uphold election integrity, has failed the citizens, shattering trust in a system they believed in.
What are the chances that that has been done? Everything else we've seen in government is broken, corrupt, messy, incompetent, or something, right? What are the chances that's the one place where it's totally competent and totally without any flaws? I'm just saying, let's go look.
Could these discrepancies point to a deeper conspiracy lurking beneath the surface? Well, that is what we'll try and find out. In the 21st century, election fraud has evolved. Ballot stuffing to manipulate the results has been digitized. Now the voting machine itself can flip your vote and print out the ballots to confirm the results. All certified by the Election Assistance Commission. To combat this corruption, on March 25, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order stating,
"You all understand that? Yes? Election fraud? You've heard the term?
We have an executive order for your attention on the very important subject of election integrity. We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections. This executive order instructs the EAC to cut federal funding to states that don't take reasonable steps to secure their election. This calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously prosecute election crimes, particularly in states that we don't believe are in compliance with federal law around election integrity. I could go on and on for a while, sir, but the compliance with National Election Day rules, cracking down and investigating and prosecuting foreign interference in our elections, revoking President Biden's executive order 14.
This is a clear directive from the Commander-in-Chief to all states that have violated their own election laws. But in the face of this enduring corruption, could a small group of determined grassroots citizens spark a flame of change? On March 12, 2025, the determined grassroots group traveled to Jefferson City to meet with Denny Hoskins, the newly elected Secretary of State. Lisa Gore, Tracy Wellborn, Kristen Hafterchick, Allie Grafe, Catherine Mano, and Travis Hines take action. They present a hand-delivered formal complaint containing evidence of election fraud, showing the machines were illegally certified. Allie Grafe questions Hoskins about the certificate's legitimacy.
Would you agree that those certificates are not legal as they stand?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that obviously I could read what it says.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the commissioner did not sign it as the interim director, but
Yep.
I'm going to do a little bit more research.
Yep.
Hoskins states more research is needed, as they were signed by an interim director, alluding to a possible investigation. Tracy then provides the secretary with the perfect opportunity.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to do the investigation because I have taken my challenges and I've submitted them, but I have wrote a formal complaint on 115225. Okay? And I referenced that you can do this investigation under 115.642, section 2, all right? Or it's 4.2 actually. And I do want to make you aware that when they put this into effect in 2023, the ability for you to subpoena information and ask for documents, they put a clause in there that that authority expires August 28th, 2025.
Okay.
So it's our responsibility to let you know that you do need to act before that expiration. So I just want to make you aware of that. I want to hand this to you. I'm hand delivering you my formal complaint.
All right.
But I have one to receive that you received it.
All right.
Hoskins acknowledges the formal complaint and validity of the evidence by signing the receipt, raising their hopes for justice. But would the investigation be in time to beat the looming August 28th deadline? During his campaign, Denny Hoskins rallied against campaign conservatives, promising to remove voting machines as a true conservative fighter.
I'm State Senator Denny Hoskins from Warrensburg, Missouri, and running for Secretary of State here in the state of Missouri. One thing that we have too much in Jefferson City, we have too many campaign conservatives. And you know who I'm talking about. Those folks that campaign like a conservative, but then they go to Jeff City and vote like liberal Democrats. We need to get rid of machines and go back to hand counting of ballots.
Now elected, Hoskins fails to act on his campaign promise, letting the spark of hope fade as days turn into weeks with no response. April 11th, 2025 marks the 30-day deadline for the Secretary's office to respond under Missouri law, but there's only silence. On April 22nd, Tracy emails the office seeking an update and tries again on April 24th, still with no reply. On April 28th, Tracy calls Nick LaStrada, Hoskins' selected appointee, seeking answers.
Hey, Tracy, it's Nick.
Hey, Nick. There is something bothering me that you said. Does your definition of legal review means it's under investigation? Because I want to make sure that that's a yes.
Yeah, that's what the letter said. Yeah.
LaStrada appears to confirm an investigation, but immediately switches, dismissively evident as he evades clarity.
Well, I mean, I want to make sure my definition and your definition of a legal review mean that an investigation has been started.
It's right now as we speak. It's going under it's a legal review, so we're looking it over. Hello.
And so, when you say legal administration, do you have a policy that you're going off of that, or?
I mean, it wouldn't be. I mean, we're going to be going by law.
Tracy, frustrated, emphasizes the stakes.
I'm tired of illegal elections. I'm tired of my votes being stolen by these frickin' machines, Nick. Denny ran on the fact that he was going to get rid of these machines. He ran on the fact that he was going to look at all of this stuff.
She also reveals the external pressures influencing the Secretary's inaction.
And I know that Denny has been pressured from leadership in the Senate to not move forward on this stuff. I'm afraid that influence the way Jeff City is going right now, that our elections are continue to be run illegally. I am afraid that all of this will be swept under the rug and ignored when we know clearly that laws have been broken and that nobody is following the election laws like they're supposed to.
Yeah, again, it's under legal administrative standards, so it's what we're doing, and we'll be getting back with you.
The next day, Ale follows up, seeking clarity on the de-escalation.
So define administrative legal review.
It is under legal administrative review. All updates will be provided to you in writing. I am not authorized to discuss any further details.
I'm not asking for details, Nick. I'm asking for you to define the words that you're telling me. And you have an obligation to do that. So define this for me, please.
Again,
But LaStrada evades with a lengthy word salad.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, if
But
you want,
can't, can you not define it?
it's being evaluated by council, compliance with laws and regulations, internal, administrative, and leadership, internal policies and procedures and operational standards.
Okay, so is that what?
So there you go.
Is that
I already gave it to you.
Oh, is that what is done within that 30-day process that?
I've already answered your question. So I don't. And again, I'll go back to what I said before. That's all I can do.
But his condescension is clear as he avoids her question.
So if you are the election integrity director, I'm asking you,
ma'am, you told me to define it, and I did. This matter is being evaluated as we speak.
These are not hard questions, Nick. You're acting like, so don't be condescending with me. I'm asking you questions as your position of election integrity director, and I expect them to be answered. Now, 115.462, number 2, states within 30 days of receiving a complaint, the Secretary of State shall notify the person filing the complaint whether or not the Secretary of State, 1, has dismissed the complaint, or 2, will commence an investigation. Legal review is nowhere within the statute. So I'm asking you to please tell me where the legal review falls in that statute.
Because it's a correspondence, because there was nothing ever an actual complaint done online.
Because it wasn't done online, does that make it a correspondence or a formal complaint?
It's a correspondence.
So it is not gone down as a formal complaint.
I already told you what it's going down as. I've already read it to you.
No, you just told me it's a correspondence, not a formal complaint.
Let me go ahead, and I've got your number, and then I'll have Matt give you a call.
Thank you.
Tracy received a letter from the Secretary's office a few days later confirming the complaint was de-escalated to a correspondence. Denny Hoskins himself said the certificates needed more research, yet the complaint has been swept under the rug. Tracy's and the rest of Missouri voters' worst fears have come true. Systemic corruption of elections runs rampant across Missouri. With a signed acknowledgement to the complaint and the remark to needing more research shows the evidence was not frivolous. This betrayal of the Secretary of State hits like a punch to the gut.
It's a correspondence.
By de-escalating the complaint, Denny Hoskins absolves his office of responsibility to investigate.
I mean, we're going to be going by law.
This is a blatant act of subverting the will of the people and goes directly against President Trump's executive order.
Election fraud. You've heard the term.
On May 12th, prompted by Tracy's formal complaint, Real Talk Radio 93.3 host Rob Carter interviewed Missouri Secretary of State Denny Hoskins.
All right, we got Denny Hoskins. Let me get a little bit serious here. I got to get my mind around all of this. I just want to tell you what's going on today. So we have Denny Hoskins. And Dan, I want to run this past you, see if this makes sense. I've been talking to grassroots people that are very highly concerned about our election integrity, as am I. You know, that's my biggest issue.
Yeah.
So what's going on here, as I understand it, and I let Denny know this, so I'm not sabotaging Denny here. I said, Denny, I have information come from the grassroots that they filed a formal complaint with the Secretary of State's office saying that the machines, in essence, the machines are not accredited. They're not legal machines. That the machines, the testing, where they test the machines, that laboratory is not accredited. Therefore, the electronic voting machines are illegal. Because I want to say this very clearly, the state of Missouri is not running legal elections. Everybody got that? They are not running legal elections. And I think Denny Hoskins knows it. And I think the Secretary of State's office is in a very precarious position because what do? The Attorney General's not going to help him, I don't believe. I don't think Andrew Bailey's going to help him. The people that have been elected are not going to go, meh, you know what? Maybe our elections are in doubt. They're not going to do that either. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of influence, I'm told, coming out of the Senate to keep everything status quo. If they want to use illegal voting machines, they're not accredited. They're not approved by the proper laboratories. Well, let's let it roll. Let's just see what happens. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? It's concerning. I think if we do not get our elections in order very quickly, we're going to run out of time. Donald Trump has an executive order out there. Denny, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the interview on short notice. Okay, let me ask you a couple questions here that I sent you a text. That's how we got this interview lined up. And the complaint coming to me, and I want to lay this out for you because I want you to respond to it. So Grassroots people met with you, and they've sent me the documentation. They've sent me video, and not video, but audio, so I can hear what's going on. They claim that on March the 10th, and I'm looking at a notarized formal complaint that they put in on March the 10th. They claim that according to statute, you guys have 30 days to reply to it. And basically what they're saying is that let me see, make sure I read it properly. In essence, the machines where they get tested are not accredited. They're not legal. So in essence, we're running illegal elections in the state of Missouri because the machines are not accredited by a laboratory. The laboratory that tests them isn't accredited. What say you?
Well, first of all, most certainly, I appreciate all the grassroots folks out there that are very passionate about elections, and most certainly, I'm very passionate as well. And when they handed me a packet, I guess I really didn't know what exactly that packet meant. As far as, hey, here's a formal complaint. We want to, we sign here and date it. Sure. Whatever you need. We'll look into this.
First, the secretary acknowledged the complaint in private, but then cries confusion. What politician signs his name to something they do not understand?
So I responded verbally that day when they handed me the packet. We're supposed to respond in writing as far as what exactly we're going to do, if we're going to dismiss it or if it warrants further investigation. And so we've done that now. We issued a letter. Was it within the 30 days when I received it? It doesn't appear that it was. I'm not going to argue about that. But and so that's what we're doing now is we're looking into it further.
Looking into it further is Hoskins, referring to the administrative legal review LaStrada told Tracy.
It's going under it's a legal review, so we're looking it over.
We've had more complaints filed this year or submitted this year than they have in the past. I don't know if that's because they just weren't being heard in the past and were just being dismissed, but my election team and I, we take very seriously any election complaints they have.
His election team is Nick LaStrada, and LaStrada clearly stated just days before this interview that the complaint was de-escalated to a correspondence.
It's a correspondence.
I just want to circle back around to this because this formal complaint wasn't on an email because it's got your signature. At least this is what I'm looking at, Denny. It's a notary, your signature on it. It was from March the 10th. And the question was, the 2 Missouri laboratories that test our machines are not accredited by law. This is where, I think citizens have to get active. And I'm concerned because it seems to me that if the elections are not compliant with the laws that our government makes, what recourse do the citizens have if they don't have trust in the elections? That's the biggest question, because if there are laws that govern the electronic voting machines and we don't follow the laws that our government places upon them, and we show that and we say, hey, look, here's the law, this is what's going on, those two things are not in line with one another, then how can you run an election if the electronic voting machines are not compliant with the laws that our own government puts on them? That's what I can't get an answer to that from anybody, and I've been trying for a long, long time, Denny. I'm not pointing at you. I'm just trying to say, what should citizens do?
Yeah, well, most certainly. I think one of the things, we've got this complaint, and we're investigating this complaint. And so we're looking into that, and we're also trying to comply with Trump's executive order on elections, and going through this investigation.
Denny Hoskins, Secretary of State of Missouri. Denny, thanks so much for taking all that time and answering those questions. I really appreciate it. We'll be back in touch with you soon. I hope you'll continue on communicating with our audience. very interesting conversation we're about to have. I want to remind everybody, if they are just joining us, we have Allie Grape, Tracy Wellborn, Catherine Manel, and Travis Hines on the line today. These are grassroots election activists. They've been fighting the fight that we all should be fighting if we want to live in a free country. They have been trying to get our elections in the state of Missouri to be legal by the laws that the state of Missouri has outlined. Allie gets on me a little bit. She goes, Rob, you got to understand this. You got to be able to. And I said, listen, this has not been my life for the last 5 years. It's been your life. And it's very easy for you guys to describe it. What I recognized right away was when I started checking what you guys were telling me, you've laid out all the statutes that the state of Missouri is not following. But what I recognized very early on is that you're right. There's just no doubt about it. You're right. Even Denny Hoskins yesterday said you were right. He's the Secretary of State. He says you're right. In essence, what you're saying is the machines are not being inspected properly before they go into use. There's laws that says they have to be inspected a certain way by a certain outfit, and we don't do that. Am I getting that proper?
That is it.
Okay, great. Tracy Wellborn, you're from Jackson County. How did you get involved in this, and what has been your experience trying to just get our elections to be legal in the state of Missouri?
After the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump,
I want to thank the American people for their tremendous support. Millions and millions of people voted for us tonight. And a very sad group of people is trying to disenfranchise that group of people. And we won't stand for it. We will not stand for it.
we did a lot of research. And we did find that the vulnerability lies in the unaccredited laboratories. From 2017, these laboratories, there's only 2 that are supposed to test our machines. They had no accreditation by the which is the Election Assistance Commission. And like Allie said, we filed a lawsuit and they denied us and trampled all over Allie's civil rights. And then, gosh, when they throw you out, you feel defeated. It's like, they're my elections. These are the people's elections, and they allow us no control over them.
This is real simple. This is the way I see it, and this is what I tell my friends. If I give you the law in the left hand from the state of Missouri, if I give you the law, and then I take my right hand and I show you what they're doing, and those two things are not compliant with one another, what do I do when the state doesn't abide by their own laws? What are citizens supposed to do?
That's why we wanted to file these formal complaints, is to see if he wanted help and to see if he's serious about removing the machines, because we're going to give you all of the ammo that you need to do this. And when those were filed as correspondences, not formal complaints, to me, that feels like he doesn't want the help and it's probably not going to get done. We had over an hour meeting with him in person to tell him, listen, all we're after is answers. We just want answers, but yet he does the same thing that all of the rest of them have done and cast aside a formal complaint and minimized it to a correspondence, which has no legal consequences if they don't answer within the 30 days.
When you file a formal complaint with the Secretary of State's office, they have 30 days in writing to get back to the complaint and say, yes, we're moving forward with an investigation, or we're going to stop it. I also heard your conversation with the election integrity director, which he flat out asked you, are you recording? You said yes. And right in there, he changes it from a complaint to a correspondence. Now, when it changes from a complaint to a correspondence, they don't have to respond in 30 days. Then you sent me a notarized version with Denny's signature on it that says it is a formal complaint. It says right at the top, formal complaint with a notary and his signature. So when I asked him about that, he said that they have moved forward with an investigation, or he implied they were moving forward with an investigation. So
he's saying something different than his actions are doing. So you have to go, you judge one by their fruit, right? You judge somebody by their actions, not what they say, especially politicians. And so we have to go by what the responses we're getting back, which are all labeled as correspondences. They're not labeled. And they're saying they're in a legal administrative review, which falls nowhere within 115642. So what I was trying to get out of the conversation with Nick LaStrada, team of one, I was trying to get out where in the law does legal administrative review fall? Does it fall in the, yes, we're commencing investigations, or no, we could dismiss it after this? Like, so that doesn't fall in line with the law, and we are law people. We are a country of laws, and we have to follow those laws. So when you have a Secretary of State's office that is not compliant with the law, that we're expecting him to investigate non-compliance with the law, you have a problem, right?
Well, let me clarify. Let me clarify, because you're talking to me, and we know what's going on, but I want to inform the audience. You filed that formal complaint, and it was signed on March 12th. So when they refer back as a correspondence and reference March 12th, you're like, well, wait a minute. On March 12th, I sat in your office, and you signed a formal complaint. So why am I getting something back that says it was a correspondence, which takes all of the liability away from the Secretary of State's office? A correspondence is just, hey, we're talking, we're having a good time. It's not a formal complaint. A formal complaint has to be responded to within 30 days by law. And what you're saying is you did not get a response to your formal complaint. I'm with you. I got it. And I'm going to stay on that. This is going to be very important to me. With what I'm doing, this is the number one issue for me. And there's many enormous issues in the state of Missouri, but the number one issue is we have to recognize the will of the people. And if we have concerns or worries that our own government isn't protecting our elections, then we have to get active in making sure that they do what we want them to do.
Everyone needs to understand this is not a political fight. This is a fight for our voice, our freedom. And because everybody that's registered voter, doesn't matter what party you're from, it's your vote.
Agreed.
We don't have a say in our government, then we don't have a republic or sovereign state.
You know, there's strength in numbers. So the more people that are recognizing what's going on, the more people that file complaints, the more people that get involved, the less easy it is to act like it's not happening. Because I know, for one thing, you're right. And number two, I've watched these people try to smear your reputations, try to label you guys as crazy, try to label you guys as conspiracy theorists.
Let me tell you, if you are not a conspiracy theorist by now, it's because you are not intelligent.
And I agree with that at this point, especially as it applies to elections. That was Candace Owens. You're not thinking very clearly.
Fueled by betrayal and outrage at the state's weaponized resistance, Missouri citizens refuse to surrender. From the flicker of hope ignited in Jefferson City to the crushing betrayal of broken promises, their fight has unmasked a systematic corruption. A living shadow that de-escalates justice, silences truth, and thrives on the state's lawlessness. Illegally certified machines have tainted ballots, stolen votes, and flipped elections. Yet in this darkness, these patriots' resolve burns brighter. A collective spirit rising to reclaim what's been stolen. Your voice, your vote, and your future. Their solution, a powerful call to action. Contact the Missouri Secretary of State by phone, by letter, and by email, demanding answers. Why is this evidence being ignored? Pressure them to investigate election fraud now. The choice is yours. Spectate and watch your freedoms disappear, or participate and change your future.